The Simple Series, Volume 64, The Splatter Master. Didn't I already play this game? Yeah, it had something to do with a terror mask and a dude's wife. I'm pretty sure there was a monster's anus you could rip out. What was it called again? Sticky House? Blood Fart Manor? Tip of my tongue here. In 2005, Vingtet Systems Corporations, my favorite Simple Series developer, released the Splatter Action in Japan. It was published by 505 Game Street in Europe under the title Splatter Master. I don't think I've mentioned 505 Game Street before, but they are worth noting for history's sake. 505 were a game distributor that handled most of the Simple Series releases outside of Japan. These guys were the champions of picking up niche titles and making them accessible to gamers across the globe. You'll notice on most of their box covers that they've translated these games into 3 separate languages: English, French, and Spanish, which are also reflected in the game's manuals, which contain all 3 languages. 505 were also forward-thinking enough to allow for gamers in PAL territories and abroad to have the selection between 50Hz and 60Hz respectively. This tiny feature allows for import gamers and gamers that just hate the setbacks of the 50Hz signal to play these titles at ease. But enough history. It's time to squirt some blood. I didn't mean to pause there. In retrospect, I should have cut out this bit, but moving on. I first became aware of Splatter Master when I played the Zombie Virus and noticed a billboard of Splatter Master within the game, and I immediately wanted to know more. Like, what the hell is this scarecrow with the chainsaws? I tried to dig into the history of this game, and the only source I could find was a brief paragraph by IGN describing the game. According to them, the protagonist of Splatter Master is named Kakashi. Kaka is Japanese for scare, which is a far different translation in English. And she means crow. Put them together, scarecrow. Yeah, you didn't know that. Now you did. You just learned something that might get you laid at your local library's monthly Naruto club. You're welcome. The setup to the game is just another fiery graphic with text describing bad shit that's happening to the world. Pretty much the same deal as the last 2 games I've covered by this company. This one is slightly different as there's a wizard involved. A wizard named Jagod. Jagod? I don't know what that means in Japanese, but in English, if you call a man a Jagod wizard, you might just get fucked up. I just got you laid and now I'm saving your life all in one video. You're welcome. The scarecrow lived on a farm, but then the wizard summoned an army of bacteria men and a giant crow named King Crow, or in Japanese, Kingushi, which attacked and injured the old couple that owned the farm. Apparently, before this game started, the farmers loved the inanimate scarecrow on their farm for some time before the wizard magic gave him life, and he wants to reciprocate their kindness. This love motivates the scarecrow to take down Jagod and save the farmers. Questions of who gave the scarecrow 2 chainsaws or what kind of relationship did the old couple have with a stick and a burlap sack need to be put aside to fully immerse yourself in this game. At its core, this is a 2.5D side-scrolling beat-em-up, but there's more going on here than just punching things till they die and moving to the right. Vingtet always has some neat little surprises in store, and Splatter Master was no exception. You have your basic punch combos that will end on a spinny kick. If you stick to just mashing square, you're likely gonna die and accuse this game of being unfair. So don't do that. Unless you have the manual handy, you wouldn't know there are a few extra moves that deal additional damage. For example, if you tap square 3 times in succession, the scarecrow will glow green, and then if you tap square at the right moment, you can do a spin attack, which is helpful when the enemies crowd you, and they will. Alternatively, if you tap triangle when the scarecrow turns green, which you need to learn if you want to have any chance at beating the last couple of boss fights. Not only do you have an array of martial arts, but you also have the aforementioned dual chainsaws. I'm the Lord of the Harvest. Learning the chainsaws has less to do with how, but more to do with when to use them. Like the Zombie Virus, you're rewarded when you pull off combos killing multiple enemies in one blow. When you hit R1, you whip out your chainsaws and do a quick spin attack that uses a bit of gasoline. You can continue to attack with your saws, which do a bit more damage than your standard moves, but you're limited to the amount of gas you have. The more enemies you group together, the higher amount of gold they'll drop when you kill them. Gold is an extremely important commodity to collect in this game, and I'll get into why in a minute. The idea is to conserve your chainsaw usage to maximize the amount of coins you can receive in a level, because enemies will rarely drop coins unless they've been sawn in half first. You can find gas cans and hearts inside of barrels on the field, but as you progress they become more scarce, especially on the last stage. Coins can be used in the item store, which is run by this fine obscure video maiden, Claimed. There are several items for sale. You have your standard heart and gas upgrades. You have a double jump, which is one of the most useful skills since it allows you to do the special head cracker attack and maneuver around the platforming sections with ease, and some of them can be a pain. A guard ability, which is useless because enemies can just hit you right through it, so don't even bother. There's also a sacrificial dummy, which stands in as an instant revive. I highly recommend buying this just before the last level, since there aren't many healing pickups and there's a lot of fights going on in that level. And finally, there's the mysterious death mask. The death mask is the most expensive item in the game and is required to purchase if you want to unlock the true ending and an alternate costume in the post-game. There is one catch though. There's only around 6,500 coins in a normal playthrough, but that's only if you're keeping up with your combos. So you'll likely have to play through most of the game without any upgrades until you can afford to buy the death mask. There's no further benefits to buying the death mask outside of just looking kinda cool. Now this might just be me, but I think it does boost your chainsaw attack ever so slightly. Then again, it just might be me, so don't take my word for it. Anyways, getting through Splattermaster is no easy task unless you're playing on easy mode, of course, but you can't unlock the true ending if you play on easy, and you get significantly less coins from enemies, so you're missing out on the full experience. Normal and hard mode are especially challenging, but not unfair. The game has a groove of its own, and you'll start to understand the magic of Splattermaster when you attempt a normal or hard mode death mask run. Most of the enemies in the game have a basic follow and attack AI, with almost none of the regular baddies having projectiles. The majority of the game involves grouping enemies together and slashing them to pieces. This odd game of cat and mouse makes for some satisfying gameplay as blood sprays the field and coins fill your pockets, and you're just craving more and more. The main issue I have with this game are the times when the enemies wander off the screen, making you wait around until they decide to clip back into the boundaries. This doesn't happen often, but it happened enough for me to get annoyed with it. But if you're fast enough, you can kill the bad enemies before this ever becomes an issue in the first place. The end stage bosses are fun treats of cartoonish proportions that require you to learn their patterns and quirks to survive their onslaught of random patterns. RNG does play a factor here, as the enemies will change up their attack sequences every subsequent time you fight them. If you save up your gas for these fights, then they'll be easy affairs at the expense of extra coins, so don't play it too safe. I really commend Vingtet Un's boss designs. I never know what bizarre beast will await me at the end of the stage. I especially like the Candy Burger fight where you have to pelt this burger mascot on top of a restaurant with explosive burgers until his face falls off. Cool shit, would recommend. The music here strikes an all too familiar chord with me. It's like an odd mashup of the farty brass section of a Wario title and the metallic riffs found within Battletoads and Battle Maniacs. The soundtrack pays into Splattermaster's atmosphere, which if I were to describe it, it feels like a dollar store splatterhouse that has the comedic and chibi undertones of Splatterhouse Wanpaku Graffiti, which if you never checked out, do it, because it's one of the best Halloween games ever made. The difference is Splattermaster is far less varied in its enemy and level designs, with the maps falling into your cliche of desert, ice, woods, castle, etc. I was honestly surprised they didn't include a volcano level, but they made this thing. close enough, I guess. There's only 7 levels to explore, and they're considerably short. So short that you'll likely beat the entire game within 45 minutes. I don't necessarily consider the short length a bad thing at all. Unlike most 2D side-scrollers, Splatter Master doesn't feel like the design was focused around padding out the levels out of an obligation for length, but instead keeps the game centered around a quick pace with multiple playthroughs in mind to unlock additional content. When you finally beat the Jagod Wizard, you're treated to a bad ending where you're turned back into a lifeless scarecrow. If you're playing on normal mode and purchase the Death Mask, you will unlock the true ending route for the second playthrough, which I won't spoil for the one guy who gives a shit, but if you want to see the only true ending route playthrough in HD, then you can watch it on the Hikikomori Archives, my gameplay-only channel. Overall, I would call Splatter Master a fine side-scroller with a simple and fun gimmick, just like everything else in the series. Just keeps you coming back for more to see what the bizarre geniuses at Vingtet Un Industries Corporation Systems has in mind. But trust me, it won't be the last side-scroller we're gonna see from them in this series. I'm saving the best for last, yet to come. Thanks for watching. It's gonna be good. Come back. Bye.